She walked into the gym to train, calm, focused, unnoticed. They didn't see a fighter, they saw a joke. But what they didn't know was that she wasn't here to prove herself. She was here to end the doubt. And she did, with one punch. She stepped into the gym quietly, unnoticed at first, dressed in plain workout clothes, no flashy logos, no designer gear. Around her, the room pulsed with energy, gloves pounding heavy bags, loud banter echoing between fighters, the sharp sting of sweat in the air. It was a space dominated by muscle, confidence, and noise. As she moved past the ring, a few heads turned. The glances weren't hostile, just confused, like someone had taken a wrong turn into the wrong room. A couple of guys exchanged smirks. One of them leaned in and muttered, "She lost or something?" The coach barked orders for warm-up. She joined in without a word, slipping into the rhythm. Jump rope, squats, footwork drills. No complaints, no hesitation. Still, eyes lingered. Not many women came to this gym, and none alone. Especially not to the advanced class. She didn't look like a fighter. She didn't act like one either. No chest-out swagger, no look-at-me attitude. Just calm focus. As the class shifted to partner drills, the whispers got louder. The same guy from earlier, thick arms, loud mouth, cracked a joke across the room. "Somebody show her where the yoga mats are." Laughter erupted. Not cruel, but dismissive. The kind that stings more than a shove. She didn't flinch. She kept working, eyes on the coach, feet in perfect sync with the drill. No reaction. No answer. Then came sparring. The coach began pairing people off. Gloves on, mouthguards in, controlled contact. As partners were called, she stood quietly, the only one left unpaired. A few looked away, not wanting to be matched with her. The coach paused, unsure. The same loud guy stepped forward, grinning. "I'll take her," he said. "Don't worry, I'll go easy." He flexed slightly as he walked toward her, weighing in at 80 kilos of confident muscle. She nodded once, barely looking at him. Everyone turned to watch. Phones slid out. This was going to be good, or at least funny. She stepped into the ring, still silent, still unreadable. And as the bell neared, one thought echoed in the room, unspoken but clear. What is she even doing here? The ring lights buzzed faintly overhead as the woman stepped through the ropes. The room shifted, energy thick with anticipation. Fighters paused their drills, leaning on ropes and benches, phones tilted up just enough to catch what everyone assumed would be a harmless mismatch. She stood still in her corner, gloves up, chin tucked, eyes locked in. No nerves, no smile, just stillness. Across from her, the 80-kilo fighter bounced on his toes, grinning like he was about to spar with a kid brother. He jabbed at the air, showboating for the small crowd that had gathered. "Relax, coach," he called out. "I'll keep it gentle." The coach raised a brow, gave a half-hearted warning about light contact, but no one really expected much. The bell rang. The first round began. He came out casual, throwing lazy jabs, more taunts than threats. She moved with sharp precision, slipping the punches, pivoting, staying just out of reach. No wasted motion, no attempt to strike back. To the onlookers, it looked like she was overwhelmed, maybe even scared. "She's just dodging," someone muttered. "Told you this was a waste of time." The fighter grew bolder, exaggerating every movement, tossing in a few flashy fakes to get laughs. She didn't bite. Her eyes never left his hands. 30 seconds in, it was clear. She wasn't reacting. She was observing. Every step, every feint, every careless angle he exposed, she noted it. He danced, confident. She stalked, calculating. The round ended. She returned to her corner without a word. No heavy breathing, no frustration. He took his mouthguard out and grinned. "You sure you want to keep going?" he teased, wiping sweat from his brow. She nodded once. No emotion, just readiness. The room buzzed again, quieter now. Less amusement, more curiosity. A few phones steadied in tighter grip. They were still expecting a punchline, but now, some weren't so sure who it would land on. The bell was about to ring for round 2, and for the first time, a flicker of tension crept into the fighter's eyes. Not fear, not yet. But something just beginning to shift. Something he couldn't name. Something she had been waiting for. The bell rang for round 2. The tension had changed. The laughter was gone now, replaced by a quiet that settled over the gym like fog. Still, the fighter bounced on his toes, keeping up the performance, though a little less boldly this time. He threw a few loose jabs, grinned at someone watching, then glanced back at her. Still expressionless, still calm, still watching him like a chessboard. He circled, testing, playing. Then he threw a lazy right hook, not with full power, just enough to land a point and keep the crowd entertained. That was his mistake. She leaned just enough to the left, weight loaded on her back foot. Then she stepped in. Fast, precise. Her right hand cut through the space between them with surgical timing, a short, compact cross straight to the chin. No wind-up, no drama, just pure technique. The sound cracked through the gym like a gunshot. His head snapped back. For a moment, his feet left the mat, then his body folded and dropped like dead weight. A thud followed. He hit the canvas hard, out cold before his body even knew it was falling. Silence. Not a breath. Not a sound. The gym stood still, frozen. Someone let out a short gasp. A phone clattered to the floor. The coach was already moving, jumping into the ring, kneeling by the fighter's side. He waved for help, calling his name. The fighter didn't respond. Eyes closed, limbs limp, chest rising slow. The impact had turned his cocky rhythm into complete stillness. She stepped back, lowered her gloves. No expression, no celebration. Just a quiet reset to neutral, like it was routine, like it wasn't a big deal. Around her, jaws hung open. Fighters who'd laughed earlier now stared with disbelief. The coach looked up at her, eyes wide. "Where did you learn to punch like that?" he asked. She answered simply, "I trained." Nothing more. EMTs were called, and when the fighter finally came to, his eyes blinked open in confusion. He sat up slowly, face pale, ego shattered. He looked around, struggling to understand what had just happened. The same people who had cheered him on now avoided his gaze. The gym was dead silent. Not one joke, not one whisper. Just the echo of that punch hanging in the air, a sound no one there would forget. And the woman? She stood by the ropes, still and quiet, as if nothing extraordinary had happened at all. She sat on the bench quietly, unlacing her gloves as the room slowly returned to motion. The sound of jump ropes resumed, mitts clapped in the background, but the energy had shifted. No more laughter, no more smirks. Just glances, long, respectful, cautious. She packed her gear without a word. A few of the others approached, hesitant. One offered a quiet nod. Another mumbled, "Didn't see that coming," with a faint smile that held no sarcasm. A third simply said, "Respect," and walked off. The guy who'd cracked the loudest jokes earlier stayed on the far side of the gym, eyes down, suddenly very focused on shadowboxing alone. The fighter sat slouched on the edge of a bench, an ice pack pressed to his jaw, legs spread wide, head low. He didn't look at her as she passed. Whatever had been bruised inside him wasn't just his chin. It was his certainty, his image, his place. Now there was a new story in the room, and she was at the center of it. The coach stepped into her path, not with frustration, but curiosity. He looked her up and down, still trying to piece things together. "Why didn't you tell us you could fight like that?" he asked. She met his eyes for the first time all day. "I didn't come here to talk," she said calmly. Then she walked past him and out the door. By the next day, her name was everywhere, or rather, her story. Whispers filled the locker room. People asked around, tried to guess where she'd trained, what her record was, who had taught her to throw a punch like that. But no one really knew anything. She hadn't shared a single detail. When she returned for the next class, the gym quieted the moment she entered. No one said a word, but heads turned, and this time, no one looked confused. A few nodded. One guy stepped aside to give her more room in the warm-up line. She didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She just trained. And the fighter? He stayed on the bench, hands wrapped, gloves in his lap, watching. Not with resentment, not anymore. Just silence. And maybe, buried somewhere in the quiet, a lesson he'd carry longer than the bruise.